Alrighty, hello and welcome everyone to the Brony Show interview with Laurent, the head of the Brony documentary. Say hi, my man.
Hey, how you guys doing?
Alrighty then, how are you tonight, Laurent?
I'm good. I'm actually really good. It's still a little light out here, and I guess it's dark over there, right? So it's like 6 o'clock here. So yeah, I'm still doing good.
Yeah, 9 o'clock here. Things are getting dark early. You doing anything fun over the week?
Just sitting with Mike and going over the edit and trying to figure out, put all the little pieces together.
It's getting close to the debut time.
I know it's nerve-wracking. It really is. I'm feeling pressure, and it's very nerve-wracking. So,
hey, I think everything's gonna go really well. Just where are some of the places that you've gone with the documentary already?
You mean the locations we've gone to?
Yeah.
We've shot. Okay, wow. All right. So go. We went to Long Island. We filmed with Inky Notebook, the Traveling Pony Museum.
That makes me sad. They are a 20-minute train ride from me. I have a lot of relations with them. That makes me sad that I just didn't see it all.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it was cool. I mean, they were obviously at BronyCon, and she has a lot of cool stuff for sure. And
absolutely.
Support of, hugely supported by Purple Tinker. We went and interviewed Purple Tinker, and, we're in Bed-Stuy. She lives in Bed-Stuy, which is a little interesting. Yeah. I was like, wow, this is like do the right thing country out there. Yeah, Purple Tinker was great. I mean, learned a lot about how the Brony community just exploded. I mean, it seems like overnight. She was talking about her meetups and how they just, they went for a few hundred people till like within a year or so. I mean, it was like 4,000. I mean, it's mind-boggling.
Yeah, Purple Tinker was a huge initiator for the meetups and conventions, so I would imagine that she'd have a lot to say about it.
I mean, the weirdest thing that boggles my mind is Purple Tinker really fought to bring John Delancey to BronyCon, and I talked to other people there, and they were like, "Well, is there really going to be a fan base for John Delancey? I mean, he just did this little role, and why are we spending all this energy? Because it's a big endeavor to bring a celebrity to your cons. I mean, it's no small task, and it's a lot of preparation, and agents, and I don't know the whole process, but I know it takes a lot of work.
Oh, absolutely. It's one thing to bring a voice actor, not debunking the voice actors, of course, but, Delancey is an actor as a whole as well, so that had to be insane.
Yeah, it was but she pushed, and it was like, and when sort of someone explained to him, yeah, I mean, why would you think he'd have that much of a, would he really be popular? And she knew. I mean, she knew, because when he took the stage, I was like, I was sort of having a little doubts myself, it's like, it's a small role. Yeah, he's big in the Star Trek community, but he walked on the stage, and I was like, oh my God, she's pathetic. I mean, I would have never guessed. I would have not guessed. But, I mean, he got he got almost as big as ovation as Lauren Faust. I mean, there's some superstar quality about him that when he inhabits a role that people really, really relate to it.
It's actually funny. I met a few people that actually went to BronyCon who were not exactly Bronies. They actually really went because they wanted to hear the word from John Delancey, old Star Trek fans and such.
Wow,
I met a few people like that.
Yeah, Purple Tinker too. When I was in her place filming, I saw this whole thing. She had all of her collectible living room.
She's a huge Star Trek fan.
And then, right in the middle of it, I mean, is this altar to John Delancey. I mean, it's like an autograph thing, and it's like, there it is. And I'm like, wow. It was, I'm just hanging out with him, really, and he's talking about what he wants in the movie, and, he's like, I want this and that, and we're just talking, we're, just, it's just like work. And then, bam, I see this, and I'm like, yeah, he really is a star. I just, it's just... Hey, it was like, wow, okay, yeah, okay.
So then, just getting back, you said you'd been to Long Island. What other places?
Then I went from there to Atlanta, Georgia. Well, on the way to Andrews, Carolina, where we filmed the story with a Brony there that's living in this tiny town. It's being, trolled in a violent way by the locals, the townies who just don't appreciate his pony obsession. So
It's
this
just kind
guy,
of him against the world on this.
Alex, and he's a really, really good guy. He loves Twilight Sparkle, and he just wants to do the right thing, and he's very inclusive. It's like he'd be like the first person to welcome these hostile people. It's like nothing to do with these colorful ponies, and so he puts them all over his car, and I mean he really is pretty brave.
That is the mark of a brave and dedicated fan.
I mean, they bashed out his windows on his car, and
oh my goodness.
Why would anybody do that?
I don't know. Really, it's like the more I learn about sort of bronies and how much they have to put up with, and sort of their sort of emotional dark side that they share with us, and kind of why they turn to the brony community and how that's such a positive light in their lives. And you look at sort of the dark side, and you're like, God, I mean, like endure so much hate, that want to go for light. I don't know. I think it's probably been going on for centuries.
Absolutely.
Light, the dark wants to bring you down. I mean, it sounds like could be an episode of the show.
Yeah. Well, I mean, just going on that route, the fact is, if your own light is strong enough, the darkness can take you down. His light, his belief in the fandom, and clearly his love for the show, he has not yet let them bring him down, and I think it's amazing. That's a great story.
Yeah, it's kind of concerns me too, because he's gone back there and he has a huge Twilight Sparkle banner in his back window, and he's just like, I don't care. I had the best time of my life at BronyCon, and I don't care what anybody says. I mean, it's inspiring, but at the same time, it makes me go, maybe not. It was quite such a big banner. Maybe make
it a little more subtle, but
stick around for a little bit.
So where was next?
After that, we went to so then it was Boston, which was Lowell, Massachusetts. Where I realized that's actually the writer Jack Kerouac's hometown, where he wrote On the Road. I don't know if you're familiar with Jack Kerouac, one of the beat writers. I used to read that stuff, but anyway, that's also the hometown of Andrew Brockard, the BronyCon. So he went into Andrew Brockard's life, which was quite interesting. Brockard, in there with piles of cups of coffee, and living in the part of BronyCon. I mean, it was just a mountain of towering boxes and T-shirts that you had to wash. And at one point, I mean, I don't know if anybody noticed, but he ended up mixing. I mean, he's a guy. He ended up mixing colors, and they washed together.
Oh no!
Well, the staff like multi shirts that weren't supposed.
Hold on. You dropped out for a moment.
Where'd I lose you?
Try and get a little closer to your mic if you can. You're dropping out occasionally.
I don't know if it's the mic connection. Maybe I should close some of my windows. Close.
Maybe give it a shot.
The up extreme things here. Yeah, that's about it. You guys are the only thing. Is that better?
Yeah, that sounds fine. Sounds great.
Windows, maybe that helps. Yeah. So where did I lose you guys?
Right around he mixed his colors, but you know what? It seems like you've been to a lot of places, so why don't we come back to that later on? Let's move on for the time being. All right. So clarify for some of us, what exactly is the Brony documentary?
Well, the Brony documentary, the idea is to go and meet these bronies and find out who they are and find out why these in their teens and 20s are attracted to a show that was meant for girls, and what is it about them that feel that this show is can identify with, and sort of live by rules of the show. I mean, it's quite amazing, and they interact with the Brony code. So it's finding out that. It's also finding out like what do it's the there's also, the love hate and every.
All right, I'm sorry. One moment. We keep getting drops for you. Do me a favor, real quick. Just drop out of the call and re-enter it. See if that works.
Do that?
Yeah, just give it a quick shot.
Oh, on Skype? Okay.
Yeah, on Skype.
And he's back.
Okay, that was fast.
Okay. Seems to be stable. So go ahead. You were saying?
Oh, I don't even know where I was. So yeah, I mean it's I don't know, where did I leave off here?
The last thing I really audibly heard was Brony code.
Oh yeah, I mean and seeing getting into the lives of these bronies and it's, I don't know, to me it's really what I found most inspiring is I see this as like a brave new world. I mean it's a generation of people that are going to change the way that we look at things and the way that we interact with people. It's really like a solid internet generation that has a show that's also wrapped into the internet as well.
I agree with that. I think probably my favorite thing that happens with this community, probably my favorite moral you can take away from it, is that no one can tell you what to be inspired by.
Yeah. I mean, and I was in Germany at the German Parliament, and they're also bronies, and they do this thing called pony time. I don't know if you guys know about it, but when they have conflicts and they can't agree, they have voted upon this code that they have that like they will stop and they will watch an episode of My Little Pony so things will cool down, and they're really. It was interesting to see how like this is being incorporated into government, and they're a new party, they're a young party, and and they really feel like they want to live by this and bring this to politics.
This is a legitimate parliament.
Yes, it's growing around Europe and it's growing around the world. I mean, they have if you look on Wikipedia, there's different factions of this popping up all over the place. So I mean, you see it happening.
That is the single most incredible thing I've just ever heard. It's actually reaching its way to government. That's amazing.
Brony President 2020?
It's entirely possible. I mean, why not? And so the one thing that they said really struck me is that they said that now that there's the show, of course, but then now there's all the artists and the ponies. They say that, now the people own the ponies. It's the bronies own the ponies. And I was like, that is true. Because the bronies can create anything. The bronies can create shows. I mean, like if the show were canceled, the brony community has the talent and the capability to continue the show on and on and on.
Well, of course. And I mean, even on that note, there's the Double Rainbow project that's going to be coming out around early December.
Oh, wow. I don't know about that.
Oh, well, basically, they're creating an entirely fan-made episode, a full-length episode done in the style of the show that's going to be about Rainbow Dash performing a double rainbow. Or that's the assumed plot of the episode. The point is, it's an entire episode.
Oh my god, that's amazing.
Isn't it, though?
I mean, this is the first show ever, I think. I've never heard of anything else like this, where the fans just take over. I mean, it's mind-boggling.
You've got me there. I really can't think of anything else.
I can't think of a show, or really anything, that's had a fandom that's quite this, that takes such an initiative like the Brony fandom does.
Yeah.
Alright, so, now then, what inspired you to make the documentary such the success that it is?
Well, I mean, I gotta back up and give credit to John Delancey and Michael Brockhoff. I mean, this is really their baby. I mean, John had the experience, and John and Mike got together and decided they wanted to make a documentary about it. And they dreamed the whole thing up. They brought me in to put it together for them. Well, to shoot it and compile a lot of footage and bring that back to them. So, I mean, it's really, I have to give them all the credit. I mean, I really do. And, you know, and it's John's baby. It's Mike's baby too. So I'm
Well,
just privileged to have been a part of it.
well, then let me rephrase that question. What do you think the reason for its inspiration was? Why do you think this was created?
I mean, I know for me why I mean, I can speak for why I liked it. I mean, I know for me, I really got excited about the project when I saw a lot of the Fox News clips and a lot of the negative press. Culture of goodness against this huge giant that's trying to squash all the goodness out of it. And I was like, you know, I can relate to these people. I feel like I've been in that place, you know, and I've had a rough.
I think we all have at least once.
I mean, I'm listening to Brony stories, and it's just like, you know, I don't really want to admit it because, you know, it's not my life now. But, you know, I've been the outsider. I've been the guy I've been the most hated kid in school, and it's like thought the outsider, you know, couldn't relate to people, and it took me a while. You know, it really took me a while to be who I am today. So, you know, and it pulled at my heartstrings. I felt like, you know, I understand and to a certain point what people are going through just from my own experience. I mean, I didn't have the show, you know. I mean, it was for me to have gotten into that as a kid would I don't know.
Yeah. So it really had an emotional tie to you.
I mean, for sure. I mean, I completely felt like, man, these people are up against a lot. And it really felt unfair to me because it's like you're going against people that their principal code is to love and tolerate. I mean, to me, that's also something that touched me too. Is like I feel like it's very Buddhist in a way. It's like a lot of what the Dalai Lama preaches. You know, compassion and tolerance, and you know, and if someone's being really mean and cruel to you, the idea is like that you should have compassion for that person because that person, you know, is coming from a very dark place and has a lot of darkness in them. And there was actually, it was funny, I saw that mini documentary that somebody did on the Bronies, and they interviewed this troll, basically, who's, you know, he was this loving, sweet person, and then somebody crushed him and broke him, and, you know, and then he just, you know, the only way he could feel joy or experience life was to be mean and cruel. And I was like, wow. I mean, it was like the dark side of what happens when your spirit is crushed. And I was like, you know, these people need to be protected.
Yeah, but that hasn't yet happened to this community, which is amazing with all the hate that it does get.
Yeah, but I mean, it's actually part of it because it's growing so quickly and so strongly that it's an unstoppable force. I mean, they can hate all they want on it, but it's just like it's just noise in a sea of creativity and compassion and, you know, and Brony love. I mean, it's like throwing a rock into the ocean. I mean, you know, it's kind of silly. I don't think they can take it. Even now, but it's grown so much, just like evolved. It's much bigger than you know when I first got into this thing. I think maybe like 5 months ago or 4 or 5. I can't even remember now. But it's even bigger. It just keeps growing. It's like because when I was first talking to my friends about it, nobody knew what it was, or I've heard of it maybe, and now I have people on Facebook like linking me to pony things left and right. And it's funny because at the beginning I told them, like, oh, this is going to be huge. They're like, what are you talking about? I'm like, you're going to see pony up and you're all over the place. And they're like, it's not going to happen. And they're suddenly like, you're right, it is happening.
Yeah, it's like you even said earlier. It's even taking place in politics now.
You know, it's. I mean, but it, you know, it's funny. The Pirate Party said, you know, the link that they felt between the Brony culture is like they're both kind of. It's both kind of geek nerd culture, you know. So they're, you know, that have crossed over, and they're in politics. They're hyper intelligent. They're programmers. You know, they're ruling the world. I mean, the internet. If you rule the internet, I mean, you know, you've got a good foothold on what the world thinks, the world hears, and public opinion and culture. Because I mean, that's what it is. Culture spreads faster online than any.
Absolutely. Why don't we just move on? My word, this is great. You have a lot to say. I'm enjoying it, but let's just move on for time's sake, though. So then, you were talking earlier about everyone having kind of a Brony story. So that's what I want to know. What is yours. How did you discover this new generation of My Little Pony and its fandom?
I discovered it. I mean, I kind of heard a little bit about it. I mean, not much. It was really when Mike came to me and said, about these bronies, and I really didn't. And it was like that's when I started getting online and finding out. So it was when Mike approached me. That's when I found out about the brony culture and really what it was.
So it was the documentary itself that pretty much brought you up to it.
Attention to it. I'm like so wrapped up in my own daily life that I just kind of was like, all these things. I just I didn't even click into it until he pointed it out to me. I clicked on it. I'm like, oh my god! And it was much like the story of I don't know. A lot of people say the same thing. It's sort of like, well, it was there, but I never paid attention to it. And then someone said, no, watch this. And they're like, I don't want to watch it. It's a stupid girls thing. Why do I want to watch this? And then they click on it, and then you just go down the rabbit hole. And at the same document, like, oh, more, and I know more, and I know more, and it's getting bigger, and it's just a snowball effect. It just,
You watch one episode, whichever one your friend tells you to watch, and from there you just can't help but watch them all. In my experience.
I mean, for me, it is more about researching everything around the show, and I watch shows, but for me, it's the most passionate thing for me is the culture around the show and why all these people love it, and their enthusiasm for it is what gets me excited.
That's very respectable. So then, tell me, for the documentary, what sort of subjects does it touch upon? How many does it touch upon?
Out right now. I mean, we haven't. I mean, it's hard to cutting. Oh, can you get?
Of course, take your time.
I gotta run downstairs. I'll be right back.
Of course, go for it. Take your time. So, while we have this just moment, let me just point out anchors in the panel with us.
Hi there.
I'm sorry, I forgot to
No,
make
it's
your
fine,
presence
man.
known.
It's I've been here the whole time. I've been that other guy who's been saying things that D-Pad hasn't been saying.
Oh, thanks. Glad you're helping me.
Oh, it's no problem. It's been 5 months in the works of me setting this up, so definitely been looking forward to it.
Has, and I can't thank you enough for it.
By the way, I just want to squeeze this in there. Mike Brockman, is it?
Yes.
Brockman. He is the greatest guy to deal with, ever. I mean, he's been so helpful and so direct and so just nice in general with dealing with me. I really, want to sort of. I know Mike's been mentioned, but I just really want to give that thank you to him. I guess is the best way to put it for really allowing this sort of thing to happen.
Well, I wish he was around. I definitely would like to have him on.
Yeah, I mean, maybe.
I mean, if he's on and he feels like it, you could shoot him a message.
I'll definitely do that. Definitely.
I can't guarantee I'll be asking him a whole lot, but...
Yep. But the Brony documentary, we're also at the meet and greet at BronyCon. They were all very nice people. Lauren Faust, Tara Strong, John Delancey, and Laurent and Mike. Obviously, although all of them are very, very, very great people to meet. They're very friendly, very outgoing, very charismatic is the best way to put it. And I believe Laurent is back.
Not quite.
Sorry about that.
Oh, there he is.
Somebody. Okay, I'm back.
Yeah, we were just giving a little bit of a thank you to Mike for really making this happen.
Oh, for the Brock up. Yeah, I mean, he's been the driving force, and and John. I mean, they really are the ones with the vision for this thing. So, I mean, deserve a lot of credit. And John has gone through and read all the transcripts, and he's gone through and highlighted what he wants in the film. I mean, he's been working tirelessly. So,
well, of course, huge thanks to them both.
I mean, I didn't realize at first in the beginning that I knew he was passionate about the film and really had a vision of what he wanted in the film. But I mean, he's really, him and Mike have been shepherding the thing through post. So they've been in the edit bay. I was still in Europe, and Mike and John got together and editing. They really went to the edit. They set up the whole story and how it was all going to cut together, and they got all the index cards and took up an entire wall, and they figured it all out. So when they came back from Europe, they were up and going. They're like, we got it. We're moving forward. I'm like, wow, you guys are amazing. I had no idea. But yeah, he's very involved in every story and shaping every storyline. And so John's really put in a lot of time,
Well, it's great to hear that the team is just comprised, I mean, even just those two, that it can just flow along so easily.
Yeah, I mean, it's editing, so nothing is easy. It's like puzzle pieces that are all exactly the same size. So it's constantly moving around. And one of the films that we watched was the Comic-Con documentary, and actually a friend of mine worked on that, and they told me it took 2 years for them to edit that thing. So and they, we're going to cut it. We're going to cut this thing in 6 weeks or 2 months, and they ended up taking 2 years. So it's been an aggressive schedule, and it's been and it's a lot of stuff shot on DSLR cameras, and so that means the image quality, Mike was really passionate about the DSLR, as was I, but the image quality is so much better than the video cameras we usually use in TV, in docu-style television where you're just running around. It has that shallow depth of field, and it's more colorful, and I thought, well, the fandom is so colorful that we should capture all that color. Well, that means that we had to record the audio separately. And so then in editing, we have a bunch of assistant editors who happen to be Bronies that Mike hired. So he brought in the Bronies, which was kind of funny because they were they were watching all the footage, Oh my God, they're super fans. They're like, come on, we got to get this thing moving.
Is the whole team comprised of Bronies?
The assistant editors are, yeah. We have Yap. Do you know who Yap Lap is?
I can't say I do.
Yap Lap's the guy that
screams into his mic.
Yap Lap, Nick. I mean, we have quite a few. So yeah, it's been pretty funny. But yeah, so it's been a tireless thing, and they've gone through all the footage and they had to sync the audio with the video, which has been, we have I think we have I think we might have 24 terabytes worth of media or something. It's enormous.
It sounds like it's been a crazy run.
Yeah, I mean, it's and we're still looking for pieces of footage. We're that we don't know where it is. We have lost pieces of footage, buried in all that. So it's tirelessly, people staying up all night trying to find a clip. So I mean, it's been quite a challenge. So
that definitely answers my question of how long this is going to be.
We finally just now have a very rough string out of the story arcs, and they're just ideas that are just basically, here's all the ideas for Act 1, and they're just thrown in there. Here's all the ideas for Act 2, and they're thrown in there in Act 3. So then it's about, it's like ice sculpturing or something, you got to chisel it down into a form. So and that's the challenge that we're up against between now and the screening of it, is really chiseling this thing down and making smart decisions with the amount of time that we have. So, I mean, Mike really wanted to get this thing out because of, he's promised the investors such a quick turnaround, But Mike comes out of the world of, he's out of the world of reality television, and it's you don't have time to dilly-dally. It's just you shoot it, you bang it together, you fine-tune it, and then you send it out. I mean, it's a fast, aggressive turnaround, which is not, sometimes it's bad, but a lot of times it's also kind of good. It's a mixed thing, because sometimes when you linger too long on something, it's you don't make it any better. You know what I mean? You make it, sometimes it hinders it. It's this balance of being under pressure. I mean, we all know, right, when you're in school and you got to write a paper, I mean, you bang that out because you have to. But if you didn't have a deadline, I mean, I don't know. I don't know if I.
All right, I'm sorry to interrupt. We gotta move on. All right. So then, my next question, I have to wonder, how did you go about determining what aspects of a fandom to research? There's a whole gigantic fandom with hundreds of topics. What made you want to put what you did in there?
Well, we had meetings, and we basically John, Mike, and I, and Nat, we had this writer. We looked at the fandom, and we kind of boiled down to the best stories that we could get. So we put out all these calls to people, and so we got letters coming in. That, we put ads up on Equestria Daily, and people sent in letters that wanted to be in the documentary and told us about their stories. And that's basically what shaped the storylines. We're like, what are the most compelling stories here? What are the most interesting stories that will translate to the screen? And that's basically what shaped that. Obviously, there's big topic issues. We used the Brony study a lot, kind of, using that also as a guideline. And then a lot of it also too. A part of it was also sort of taking all the negative press that was the ignorant statements and going, okay, now how can we enlighten these people? And that was another thing that we also talked about.
You talked about how to make it appealing or deliver it right to the criticizers or haters, as probably best called.
A lot of things, and we were like, well, how can we? I mean, not like kind of go, well, you said this, and we're going to prove you wrong. As much as like, how can we show you what you're saying is ignorant and not very enlightened, and is very quick and judgmental. We want to show you that you shouldn't be so fast to judge. I mean, take another look. These people are just like all of us, and they're just like you too.
Now, with that being said, I really want to know, what do you have to say to people that kind of criticize the documentary? There are some comments that I'm sure you've seen on the documentary that are along the lines of it being pretty much just a bunch of propaganda. The documentary will be nothing more than just propaganda. What do you make of that?
I don't understand why they would. I mean, I would disagree. I mean, I guess I can understand why they would say that, because we are clear, getting into like celebration of the Brony rather than critical. I don't see it as propaganda.
I'm sorry, just it's doing that fade out, fade in thing with your mic again. Just
how's it now? Am I better?
Yeah, it seems fine.
Okay. I understand why they would say it's propaganda. We're trying to hate on them and trying to bring out the the negative aspects of the Brony culture. I mean, for me, and that was something that we've talked about from the beginning, and both John, Mike, and I didn't want to do that. And for me, the conflict in the story are the lives of the Bronies that they have to lead, and the conflicts often, and the trolls that are often most relevant to them, may not be the haters online, may in fact be their parents or their siblings or their immediate environment, like Alex. We have a Brony couple in Germany, and her biggest, adversary is actually her own father. So, I mean, these are the people that really, are the people that they have to go up against. And, your family is, I mean, that's a big one. I mean, that's really hard,
Well, that actually begs the question, what do your own friends and family think of the whole Brony documentary thing and your involvement in it?
Well, my family, my family's open and accepting, and really, they're like, oh, it's creative, it's cool. I mean, they have the souls of artists. So, and, they're not judgmental. And on top of it, my family's in Berkeley, from the Bay Area. It's like there, and it's like, you're not going to pay. I mean, it's not. I mean, it's but I mean, like, oh, cool. They'll immediately, they can't deny the artistic integrity of the show. So, it's not in some of the more conservative areas of the country, but. Was that a two-part question? I forgot the other part of it. My friends and family. Yeah. No, they've been. I would definitely. Oh, so like for instance, I was at the supermarket and I was like, I saw a pony calendar, and I was talking to some girl, I forgot what I was saying to her, and then I picked up the pony calendar and I was like, I think I'm going to buy this. This is cool. And she turned and she looked down at me, she turned away, and that was it. She walked off. I was like, wow, I just totally, just like, she probably thought I was some creepy dude. And that was amazing. I was like, I was like, that's crazy. That's so close-minded. I just picked this thing up. To her, already she had the stereotype of who I could be, and how close she wanted to stand to me.
That happens a lot. I've actually gone around with just this one pony in hand. My girlfriend gave me a pony, and I didn't really have anywhere to put it. I wasn't wearing anything that had pockets, much to my own expense. And I was just carrying it, walking down the streets, and I actually had a guy scream at me as he was passing by in his car. Obviously, I won't say the word he used, but I'm just like, my goodness, how is it that just this pony alone can incite so much rage into someone? Which actually leads me to ask you, what do you feel is the biggest misconception about bronies?
The biggest? I mean, I think it's a blur. I mean, I don't think people that have this, I think it's like you said, it's a guttural, instinctual repulsion that manifests as hate. And whatever hate means to that person, whether it's like they think of whatever they despise and they hang that label on these people that happen to be bronies, because there's that, I don't know, it's a weird thing. So they say, they're pedophiles, or they're gay, or they're man children, or they don't work, or they're on disability, or whatever they want to say.
I mean, on disability. I actually haven't heard that one before.
I'm sorry, can I just butt in? I work for Aflac. What the hell is this?
Affleck, yeah, that's a good point.
It's my job to go to work every day and work with corporate America. Come on, man, throw me a bone.
Where were we? All right then. So, I'm sorry. I guess we kind of. I lost your answer. Then again, your answer is pretty much there's pretty much too much in the community for people have too many misconceptions. Seems to be the case.
Well, I think you hit upon something that's really interesting. That people have this knee-jerk sort of anger towards it, and I think that anger manifests as ignorant stereotypes. It's just, but it's that core sense of anger and it's like, where does that come from? I mean, that's a very good question. Where does that come from? And then because it starts off as an emotion, right, and then it becomes like an ignorant label. And that label could be anything.
It is always strange just seeing how, I mean, as you were saying, yeah, it's just people just label it with such raw emotions so many times, so much anger. I can't believe how much. I think one of the someone hit it right with this one just cute little image. It's just a picture of Twilight Sparkle, and the caption is simply, "Look, a pony, now your whole day is ruined." And I saw that, and I had to think they're right. Some people would actually, this pony alone would destroy their whole day.
Mm-hmm. I mean, the whole sexual deviant thing and that whole thing is, one of the most obvious things, the most glaring. But it's like, these people to me are so ignorant. It's like, I'm from San Francisco. I've been to the Folsom Street Parade, which is like a parade of sexual deviance. And it's celebrated and embraced, and you see that, and you're like, "Whoa!" I mean, it's shocking. You see this, and you're like, "Oh my god!" But I mean, it's like, that's cool. That's your culture. That's your thing. But it's definitely not this. It's like, no. You guys are way wrong.
Yeah, it's not bronies. It's not ponies. It's not a sexual concept at all.
Yeah, I mean, they don't know what they're saying. It's like if I showed them what they're really describing, and then like put them in the brony community. I think they would realize, yeah, I think you're right there. Yeah, no, that's what you're describing. These people are not that.
I think they changed their tune very fast.
Yeah, they would.
Well, with that said, what is your personal favorite part of the community? What do you really enjoy about this?
I love the community. I love the friendship. I mean, I love the fact that, like, I'm on Twitter, and, like, someone hacked my Twitter account, and it was like, And within minutes, I got so many emails from different bronies going, "You've been hacked, you've been hacked, you've been hacked." I'm like, this is amazing. I went through and changed it, and everyone's like giving me telling me exactly how to do it as quickly as possible. But none of my non-brony friends on Twitter like even really caught on or cared. It was amazing. It was just the bronies cared. The other friends are just like, yeah, whatever, I don't care.
The friends that you've known for a long time just won't help you, as opposed to total strangers that come from the Brony community.
It's like that. It was like this is mind-boggling. Yeah, I mean the community. It's so tight. It was like, yeah, I mean it's like everyone looks out for each other. Everyone tries to help each other. And if you ask somebody a question, you get like 6 responses. I mean, it's amazing.
It really just always is. So, now, I have to wonder, how far do you believe this documentary's influence will spread? And I suppose by that more, I mean, is the documentary going to be published in alternate languages?
That's the question. I mean, and that's a hard one for me to answer because that's really Mike's. Mike's really in charge of all that. The producerial part of it, the financial part of it, and the distribution part of it. So, I mean, ultimately, personally, I would love to see it, go international, and I hope that it does. I mean, because we have international stories. So, but I mean, I will also say, I don't know how much of it we really would have to translate because, I was in Germany and I was in the Netherlands. I mean, it's like. And then we have French bronies. But, I mean, the thing that they all have said is that they love watching the original show in the original language. So they all, I think, would actually probably prefer it to be in English anyway. So we made a lot to make it go, international as far as that goes. Because the English language is just dominating. And people, and like, especially like in Germany, people were, because it was funny, I met the German Twilight Sparkle. And it was like, and she does the whole thing in Germany. I met the Swedish Spitfire, and it was like,
Oh, the Swedish Spitfire. She's pretty famous around America too.
Yeah, and she gave it sort of these, she sexualized him a little bit. I mean, the Bronies were like, that's the sexiest Spitfire.
Yeah.
Stupid, sexy Spitfire.
Yeah. I always found it funny. As soon as that was brought up to me, I'm like, wow, you guys aren't kidding. That really is probably the sexiest Spitfire voice they have.
Yeah. I mean, that said, I mean, while people appreciate all that, I mean, I think at the end of the day, everybody wants to watch it in English.
It's the most popular language, really, so I'd say English is likely the best way to go for it.
Yeah, it just doesn't, I don't know why, but it just... the bronies that just feel like it doesn't quite come across, and when it's translated to their language. Like their big complaint is that a lot of European countries that got voiceover actors to redo it in their languages, the writing was like geared towards children, and so the bronies felt kind of insulted, like they were talked down to, and it didn't have the spirit of what it is in America.
That's actually really interesting, because I know that a lot of people enjoy the show simply because it's a show that has intelligent enough writing that a child will laugh at it and enjoy it, but there are these little things in there that a grown-up will just kind of crack a grin at, and they can feel like they won't feel just so childish watching this.
And that's what I love about it. You feel included, but yeah. I think that a lot of it, the translation just got dumbed down. And maybe it's just simply the networks didn't really understand the Brony community appreciates, all the levels and the nuances in it and the intelligence that, ranges from something an 8-year-old can like to something, a 5-year-old can like. And I think they kind of, probably got the write-up from, Hasbro. And it's like, it's geared to sell toys to kids. I mean, really. I mean, this Brony thing is just this amazing phenomenon that happened along the way.
Speaking of the networks, Hasbro and DHX, I would assume that they know about the documentary. Do you know if they have any feelings about that?
I know that Mike has had some conversations with them, and I kind of met them briefly at Comic-Con. I was there with Tara, And they were cool. They were great. They were like, hey, so they know about us. I mean, I actually filmed at I filmed their panel that they had there. So I don't really know much of the details. I mean, again, that's Mike and John as far as kind of their position or any of that stuff. But I can say in person they were great. They were awesome. They were very kind and very warm and very, very supportive.
That's great. It's definitely good to have the network support. I'm glad to hear it. Very.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know the technical details, like how far it goes, but I mean, it seems to me like they seemed happy to, that we were celebrating the Bronies.
It would have been, I can't imagine how it would have gone if they had kind of had a negative response to it. That makes me want to ask you, though. I would, of course, assume that there were some bumps along the way for this project being made. What would you say is the biggest challenge you guys ran into?
I guess the biggest challenge was, well, there's been a lot. Honestly, there's been a lot of challenges. One of the bigger ones, I mean, I can kind of chronologically, I guess it was interesting how the whole thing developed, because first it was just going to be a documentary that was going to just happen at BronyCon. It was just going to be that standalone thing. And when the Kickstarter funded in like 2 days, and it was clear that this project, had so much support so quickly. Did I lose you guys?
No, you're.
John and Mike, it was like, we can make this so much bigger, and then the European cons contact, let's see if we can't make this go internationally. Well, by the time the whole thing, was done, it didn't fund until like a week before we were shooting. So, I mean, it was a scramble. It was a scramble to get together. That was one huge challenge. I think the other challenge for me was sleep. I wasn't getting enough. I was like, sometimes I'd have like 2 or 3 hours of sleep, and I'd be on an airplane somewhere else, and then, shooting and, avoiding car accidents and,
God, give it some air, man. Take a breather.
It was an aggressive schedule. I mean, just because we were backed up, before it actually funded, we couldn't start sooner. So we were kind of against the wall. And that's just the nature of it. I mean, but that was one big challenge. Obviously, we have our little bumps and creative differences here and there that we have to work out. I may want to go one direction, and, they clearly have their vision, and I have to go, okay, all right, I know where I want to go. I need to go where you guys need it to go. So, but that's part of it. We have an editor and a story producer and, and everyone that, a lot of strong creative people that come together. It's just kind of the typical thing of going, okay, where's the common ground here? So, and that's been a big challenge in making this happen. But we got the guy.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
They have a strong vision of what they want, and they come in, and so it's good. It's been good. It's been a good experience.
It's been challenging, but it's been a good experience. Tying back to what you said about your schedule, how much time would you say that you had spent each day on the documentary?
Filming. I mean, I'm aggressive, and it's sort of part of the problem why we have so much footage. I film as much as I possibly can. I try to squeak out every drop out of each day, and if I find some sort of story that's developing, I will follow it no matter what. So I mean, I drove Andrew Brock. I mean, I ran him a little ragged. I mean, show up early in the morning, and I'd film him till 2 in the morning. I'd keep going until he said he couldn't film anymore. So,
it sounds like you both were really running around ragged. You both had one heck of a time with it.
Yeah, I mean, and poor Andrew was under the stress of he had the entire con on top of his head while I'm trying to interview him. And I'm like, come on, I need this from you. I need that from you. Let's keep going. We got to get to my next question. It's like, and at the same time, he's like, trying to put out fires, 2 days before BronyCon. I mean, it was.
Putting out fires at BronyCon? Oh no.
I mean, well, before we got there, yeah, but before we got, I mean, I was like exhausted and bleary-eyed, and I was like, I wasn't, I looked at Andrew and I'm like, yeah, well, at least I don't have those responsibilities. Because that was intense. I mean, I didn't envy his position at all.
But all in all, it was a great experience. While you were filming, though, did you have any particular parts that you just really found enjoyable, despite how sleep deprived and kind of exhausted you were?
Yeah, I loved it all. It kind of it's one of those things that you're sort of so focused to staying in the moment and trying to see, trying to be present that you're not really thinking about you're in a tunnel. It's like when you sit down at night and you lay back and you're about to go to sleep back. And it's still coming back to me. It took me like a couple weeks of just sleeping and sleeping to kind of recuperate. And then it's like, and now when I think about like, my experiences I had at Galacon and Buck and BronyCon, it's all, it comes back to me, and it's like I get to relive it every time, they show me a new cut of it, or, Mike's like, hey, come check this out, look what we've done, and I come over and I look at it, and I'm like, wow, and I just keep reliving it over and over again.
It's the fruits of your work really coming to bloom, right? It's the fruits of your work really coming to bloom, right?
Yeah, but I think it's more. It's more that you relive it's a feeling. It's more of this feeling that you're like, I remember that. I remember this person. I remember their story, and I remember how that touched me. And it kind of go down this visceral journey. It's not so much. Yeah, it's more the people that touched me. I think. I think that's their stories and their lives, and and I keep every months I keep wondering, like, did they ever work that issue out? Did that that kid in Bar Harbor, Maine, did his dad finally accept him becoming a brony, and is he because he promised to this one dad promised to watch the show, and I'm like, did he how did that turn out? And occasionally we get emails from him to kind of update us. So I mean I feel like we sort of stop short because people haven't finished their lives and they're still so young, and there's so much further they're going to go in life, and we've only had the privilege of seeing a small glimpse into their lives, and it'll be interesting in where they'll be in 10 years from.
And with just so many stories, that makes me wonder, what is it that you personally want to see accomplished by this? You were just talking about how many people's stories, like, you want to know how they were concluded. Do you think that this documentary might actually get to that conclusion for some of them? What do you want to see accomplished?
Well, for me, what I love about documentaries is I love like intimate portraits, little moments where you see through the cracks and in the veneer. You see these private moments into people's lives and you sit there and you really feel like that you've gone to England and you've sat in this guy's room and you've met the family and you've walked around their town and you feel like what it's like to be that person. Just to be a human being. I think the reason why we make movies and we tell stories is that life is so short, and we don't know if we come back again, so we want to experience as much as we can out of life. So we have this natural curiosity for what would it be like if I was this person and I was in this person's shoes and I had this person's issues, and how would I deal with that, and what's that like? I mean, for me, I'm always curious. I'm always like, I'm always looking around and going, am I getting the most out of life? Am I feeling everything? And so that's what I love about documentaries, is that you're able to go into someone's life for a couple hours or 15 minutes or 20 minutes, and you're like, wow, that's what it's like to walk a mile in that person's shoes and deal with their issues, and somehow when you get back to your own life, you feel like you've learned something, and you feel a little lighter. You feel like, yeah, those are that person's struggles, and makes mine not seem so heavy or so challenging. Or perhaps, like a lot of bronies say when they're watching the show, they actually learn something that they can take their personal lives and help them, especially interacting with other people. That seems to be a common topic, so I love that. And that's it across.
Now, curious, that's actually just brought kind of an interesting question to mind. Now, are you actually a brony yourself, or are you simply very intrigued by the fandom? It definitely can't be argued that you have a good passion for the brony community and the fandom, what goes on in all this, but are you yourself, would you define yourself as a brony?
That's a good question. I'm trying not to I'm trying to not fall too far into the fandom while making the film because I will lose my objectivity. It'll be difficult to navigate the storylines,
It's
and
very understandable.
already like that derpy thing. Really was that Save Derpy thing online. I mean, Mike was a little appalled watching the derpy thing, and it was I don't know about appalled, it's the right word, but he was a little like, wow, you could fall into this very quickly because that derpy thing actually, Save Derpy, they're saying, I don't know, have you seen the video, the Save Derpy?
Oh, of course. That was heart-wrenching, but I found the entire premise of that very bizarre, even from, the standpoint of the Brony community.
Yeah, but I mean, what I found so moving about it is not just the derpy thing. It's sort of our own cry, and our own humanity, and how, soon we'll all be erased. Soon we'll all disappear from the show. It's such a primal thing, that it's a human, and that it's like, what did I do wrong? Why does my clock have to expire? I don't know. Philosophers have said, the disadvantage of man, or what brings the anxiety and all the pain that we suffer as human beings, is we're the only species that, see the axe coming. We all know there's an expiration date, and other animals don't. They don't live with the same weight necessarily that human beings do. So it causes us to probably, cherish things and celebrate things and want to hang on, much tighter than the other species.
And everything you're saying just right now, that's, I think, possibly my favorite part of this community, this fandom, that you can take so many philosophical beliefs, so many different morals, and actually apply them to what goes on in the lives of the people in this community. I think it's amazing. Well, we are running out of time, so do me a favor, clarify for us. Where and when is this documentary going to make its debut?
Oh, right. Okay, yeah. So Mike has asked everyone. He's telling me that we're actually running out of funds in post production. That he wants everyone to go to the site, pre-order DVDs if you want this. And also, it's going to be premiering on November the 4th at Equestria LA, and I think there's links online to it, and that will be that's what we're working on right now. So we're trying to get the best project together possible for that screening, which is in 2 weeks. So,
excellent. I'm sorry, you were saying?
2 weeks away from the screening of this, and it's going to be at Equestria LA, and it's on the 4th.
You heard him, everyone. EQLA on November 4th. That's very exciting. So then,
make sure you pre-order.
Absolutely. I just linked it in that chat 3 times. In fact, I'm going to do it again to make sure they got it. And all right then. So before we sign off, Laurent, is there anything more you'd like to say?
Do the announcement in that cool voice, that gumshoe voice.
I'm
going
sorry.
to do that gumshoe voice of yours.
I honestly would love to, Laurent. If you want me to, because I have a studio mic, I'd sit down and I'd do it for you.
You were like you did before, we did before the interview.
Yeah.
I'd love to. Make sure you all pre-order for the video. If you don't, I'll come to your house. And I've done some things in my day when I was in Vietnam.
That is the perfect way to announce anything. Excellent. So, Laurent, thank you very much for being with us. We're all very excited for the project.
Okay, thank you guys.
Thank you so very much. And this interview was brought to you by Anchors primarily. I want to just thank him again for getting Laurent for us. He's been nothing but amazing for the past few months. And the interview was brought to you by The Brony Show. Come to see us every Monday for some entertainment brought to you by Bronies. And good night, everyone. Thank you very much for attending. We really hope you'll come